Assalamu alaikum dear students of class 10th. Welcome to your e-learning class of chemistry. Chapter is acid, bases and salts and the topic is salts, their preparation and their types. I'm your teacher Hubru. What is a salt? A salt is the product of neutralization reaction. It is a neutral substance produced from the reaction of an acid and a base. Salt is composed of the negative ion of an acid and the positive ion of the base. You can see the negative ion, that is Cl minus in salt, comes from the acid HCl and the positive ion Na plus comes from base sodium hydroxide. Examples are KCl, MgSO4, magnesium sulfate and sodium phosphate. Here are some other examples of salts with their pictures: potassium dichromate, iron sulfate, cobalt chloride, copper sulfate, nickel sulfate. These all are the salts. Salt formation occurs by the combination of metal positive ion of base and non-metal negative ion of an acid. Copper sulfate CuSO4 forms by the combination of copper ion and sulfate ion. Sodium chloride NaCl, it is formed by the combination of sodium ion from the base and chloride ion from the acid. Potassium nitrate is formed by the potassium ion from the base and nitrate ion from the acid. Calcium sulfate CaSO4 is formed by the combination of calcium ion from the base and sulfate ion from the acid. Now let's talk about the classification of salts. Salts are classified on two bases, on the basis of solubility and on the basis of chemical nature. On the basis of solubility, there are two types of salt, that is soluble salt and insoluble salts. And on the basis of their chemical nature, there are three types of salts, that is neutral salts, acidic salts and basic salts. On the basis of solubility, the first kind of salt is soluble salt. Soluble salts are those salts which are soluble in water. For example, sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, calcium chloride. These all salts are soluble in water, that's why they are called as soluble salts. On the basis of solubility, the another kind of salt is insoluble salt. The salts which are not soluble in water are called as insoluble salt. AgCl, silver chloride, copper carbonate, lead chloride, these all do not get dissolved in water, that's why they are called as insoluble salts. On the basis of chemical nature, the first kind of salt is neutral salt. Neutral salt is a salt that is formed when hydrogen ion of an acid is completely replaced by the metal ion. The salt formed as a result is called as neutral salt. Sodium chloride is a neutral salt. Neutral salt is formed when a strong acid reacts with a strong base. Other examples are potassium sulfate, sodium carbonate, and ammonium sulfate. Another kind of salt on the basis of chemical nature is acidic salt. It is defined as the salt formed when the hydrogen ion of an acid are partially replaced by the metal ion of a base. Why they are partially replaced? Because you can see that this acid contains two hydrogen ions, and here in this base there is only one metal ion is present. So this one metal ion can replace only one hydrogen ion at a time. As a result, this one hydrogen ion is replaced by K and it becomes KHSO4. This KHSO4 is called as acidic salt. Acidic salt is formed by polybasic acids only. Why this acid is being called as polybasic acid? Because this acid needs more than one base to neutralize it. You can see this acidic salt further react with another base to form a neutral salt. So to get neutralized, this acid needed two bases at a time. So that's why this acid is called as polybasic acid. Other examples of acidic salts are sodium NaHCO3 and H2PO4. On the basis of chemical nature, another kind is basic salt. Basic salt is defined as a salt formed when the hydroxide ion of a base are partially neutralized by an acid. Partially neutralized because you can see this base contains two hydroxide ions and this HCl contains only one hydrogen ion. So this one hydrogen ion can only react with one hydroxide ion at a time, and when it reacts with hydroxide ion, it forms water. You can see that this PbOH2 becomes PbOH. One OH is attached to hydrogen and forms water, and this Cl combines with this PbOH and it forms basic salt. Basic salt is formed by polyacid bases only. Why? Why these are called as polyacid bases? Because these need more than one acid to neutralize themselves. Because this basic salt again react with another acid and form a neutral salt. So to get neutral, these bases need more than one acid. That's why they are called as polyacid bases. Other examples are copper hydroxychloride and zinc hydroxybromide. These both are basic salts. Now let's learn about the preparation of soluble salts. There are four methods of preparation of soluble salts. First method is acid reacts with a metal and it forms a soluble salt. That method is called as direct displacement method. The second method is acid react with base. This method is called as neutralization method. And the third method is acid when reacts with metallic oxide, it forms a soluble salt. Fourth method is acid when react with a carbonate or a bicarbonate and it forms a soluble salt. Let's understand these methods of preparation by watching these reactions. First method is called as double displacement method. It occurs between acid and a metal. HCl is an acid and magnesium is a metal. Magnesium displaces hydrogen ion and forms magnesium chloride. Magnesium chloride is a soluble salt and hydrogen gas is liberated. Here, the second method is acid react with the base. This method is called as neutralization method. Here, an acid reacts with a base and form a salt that is soluble in water and is called as a soluble salt. This method is called neutralization method because acid and base neutralize each other. The third method is acid reacts with metallic oxide. H2SO4 is an acid. It reacts with metallic oxide. Calcium is a metal and this is oxygen, so it is a metallic oxide, calcium oxide. These both react with each other and form calcium sulfate and water. Calcium sulfate is a soluble salt. Fourth method is acid plus carbonate. Acid react with a carbonate. Here HCl is an acid. This is sodium carbonate. These both react and form sodium chloride, water, and carbon dioxide gas is liberated. Sodium chloride is a soluble salt. Similarly, this HCl can also react with a sodium bicarbonate or a bicarbonate and they both form salt which is soluble in water. So this is a soluble salt, water and carbon dioxide gas is liberated. Now, the method to prepare insoluble salt is called as precipitation method. Insoluble salts are usually prepared during a chemical reaction. Solutions of soluble salts are mixed and as a result an insoluble salt is formed. During the reaction, exchange of ionic radicals takes place. Na reacts with NO3 and Ag reacts with Cl and they form AgCl and NaNO3. As a result, two salts are formed. One is insoluble in water and another one is soluble in water. This insoluble water precipitates at the bottom. Precipitate means settle down at the bottom. Here you can see sodium carbonate and CuSO4, copper sulfate. These both are the solution of soluble salts. When they are mixed together, exchange of ionic radicals occur. Copper reacts with carbonate and sodium reacts with sulfate. They form two types of salt. One is insoluble and another one is soluble. The insoluble salt precipitate or settle down at the bottom of the container. Precipitation occurs like this. Here this black colored mass is the precipitate and here this white mass is the precipitate. Shortly they are termed as PPT. This is all about our today's topic. See you in the next one. Goodbye.